pues vamos a empezar ya nuestra mesa redonda sobre Cáñamo, Regreso al futuro. Bueno, primero de nada, daros la bienvenida, agradeceros vuestra asistencia en nombre de Ben Dronkers, el fundador y director del museo del Marihuana Hemp Museum de Ámsterdam y Barcelona, también de Sensi Seeds y de HempFlax. Y bueno, yo soy Ana Rodríguez, moderaré este coloquio y agradeceros otra vez vuestra asistencia en estas jornadas, espero que las disfrutéis. Y nada, volvemos otra vez aquí. La organización nos invitó una vez más a participar en estas conferencias y hemos repetido tema. El año pasado vinimos con Cáñamo Regreso al futuro y donde introducimos un poquito de cómo se ha recuperado la industria del cáñamo actualmente y con los productos que se estaban desarrollando, y tanto mecánicamente como de fibra. Para esta ocasión queremos centrarnos en el bioplástico y nuestro título de Regreso al futuro es porque no estamos descubriendo nada nuevo. Sí que es verdad que existen innovaciones, pero se está recuperando un material procedente de la naturaleza que nos ayuda pues, a generar nuevos materiales para la industria actual. Nos gustaría también centrarnos en el concepto de sostenibilidad y para esto contamos con dos invitados. Eelkje van Oldenburger de HempFlax y Vaniek Colenbrander de Van.Eko. El regreso al futuro es porque al hablar de bioplástico no estamos haciendo referencia a una innovación del siglo XXI. Los bioplásticos utilizan materia vegetal para generar plásticos, ya proviene del siglo XIX, principios del XX, donde se utilizaban materiales vegetales que contenían, por ejemplo, celulosa para producir estos plásticos. Con la introducción en el siglo XX de los polímeros sintéticos y también con ayuda de las petroquímicas y de la prohibición del cultivo del cannabis a partir de 1977 en los Estados Unidos, pues esto cambia un poco. Pero bueno, estamos en el siglo XXI y tenemos que mirar a qué podemos coger de nuestro entorno para producir materiales que sean sostenibles, que nos ayuden a tener un futuro mejor. Eelkje van Oldenburger, hola, gracias por haber asistido con nosotros por querer participar con nosotros en estas conferencias. Es el jefe de línea comercial de HempFlax, que es una empresa dedicada al cáñamo industrial. Tiene sedes en el norte de Holanda y en Rumanía. Y bueno, nos gustaría que nos explicaras un poquito, que nos presentaras cuál es la filosofía de HempFlax y los materiales que realizáis. Cuando quieras, adelante.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your warm welcome. I'm Eelkje van Oldenburger. I'm business line manager at HempFlax in the Netherlands, out of Pekela. We made a presentation. I started the presentation with the word cultivation because in basic we are farmers of hemp. I want to take you a little bit back in time so you can see the past of our business, and we want to go in a little bit deeper about the plastics. When you go back in 1993, HempFlax was founded by Ben Dronkers. He's still the owner of HempFlax. He started with a passion for the hemp plant with our business, and we are very proud on Mr. Dronkers that he did all the things he's done. We went to Oude Pekela in 1996. We bought there a really old paper industry building where we started the HempFlax, and we started pioneering with the plant. How can you get the largest crop from the acres we've got? There was 50 years no hemp in the Netherlands. Am I too close on the... Sorry. There was 50 years no hemp in the Netherlands. It was in the opium law forbidden to do anything with hemp, even the industrial hemp. And that was a real pity because you can do a lot with hemp, as you all know. So we have to start it all over again. So all the machines, everything in our factory, we made it ourselves. So that's what we mean with 50 years of status quo. We have to develop everything again new. So that's what we have done. We've got a small movie about our, but it's completely black.
I think that we can find it.
Yeah. Yes. It's a machine we have made by ourselves together with John Deere to harvest our material. And you can see that we also do the CBD, of course. And we are Europe's largest CBD producer. And we do that all in Romania, where we built our own factory and bought something more than 1,000 acres of land to do all this. You can see it here. And also the machines were not in use, and so we have to develop everything by ourselves. It was a really hard and long way to go, but we think we made a lot of progress the last few years.
No fool.
Oh, then it starts again. Okay. We've done the last year, we are in a rebranding. We want to professionalize. And the logo you see, our old logo with HempFlax and Nature Wins, it's been our logo for 25 years, and we thought it should be something new, more cooperative. And because the markets we want to go to, like here, the plastics, you have to be professional as a company and have a professional look. So that's why we started with a new logo and our new website. I would like to ask you to all go to our website and take a look what we all do with our company. Now here you see the machine again that we have made. The logo we have, you see the 6 colors, the 6 blocks. It all stands for products lines we have. And we have construction, industrial applications, animal care, genetics and cultivation, nutraceuticals and horticultural. When I go through them real quickly, because we want to focus on the plastic and the construction, we are building complete facades out of hempcrete, prefabbed, made in our factory. We sell the wall insulation, we call it plus insulation. It's a replacement for glass in stone wall, what we can make. Then the industrial application will be in a few minutes. The animal care line, I think a lot of people know them from all the litters that we make. And for horses, when you see the polo horses in Australia, they walk on our shives. So that's a product we make. And genetics and cultivation, it's all the knowledge we have as a company. We share that with the world because we think that hemp should be widely spread. The nutraceuticals, it's mostly the food supplements and the CBD, but also the seeds that we harvest and sell. And we have got the horticultural, we make growing mediums, we call them, where you can grow, how do you call tuinkers in English?
Small plants.
Small plants. We also do testing with tomato plants, but that's still a way to go with test, because it has to go, it has to stay good for a longer period than with the small plants. And the industrial applications, and that's mostly what we're here for. And you have to know that from the fiber we have, that we make at HempFlax, we make felt insulation. It's a mat from different sizes, and from that material we can make dashboards and that kind of things for the automotive industry. And we do mostly German cars with hemp, and like the BMW with the dashboards, and the 3, the 5 and the 7 series, it's all of hemp. But also the door panels from the Mercedes E-Class, it's made of hemp. One of the latest things we have invented are the pellets to do spuitgieten, injection molding. And we have now different customers who also make bureau desk and everything of it. And when you see to the small history of the industrial applications, and we started to deliver to the automotive industry in 2000. Mr. Ben Dronkers was really playing a big role in that, all of that. We started to deliver our fiber to the automotive industry, and it was because our fiber, it's not only lighter than the glass fiber, it's also stronger than the glass fiber. So the automotive industry was really interested in that. For the dashboards, when normally used was the glass fiber, you have to, and when you have an accident with your car and the airbag comes out, and you have a dashboard made of glass fiber, all the glass fiber goes in your face and it's pushed in with the airbag. When you use a natural fiber like hemp, that won't happen. In the year 2005, we started with injection molding. It was interior parts for the automotive industry where we used it a lot. It's used. And for the school application, it's the table I just talked about. Different parts of it is made with hemp. When you go to construction, chipboard development, bio-based, it's really, we think, a really big market that we can do. And also traffic science. And we do a lot together with a lot of universities and schools. And this is one of the projects they've done together with us, the schools, to make the traffic science out of hemp. It's a really nice thing to do. And I wanted to let you know why we do the things we do, because we think the plastic market, it's enormous. And when you see how many billions are involved, if we just do, for example, 1% of that market, hemp will be pushed forward really big time. So we think it's the future to do the bioplastics with hemp, and we are going through with it just as we started it. And I think it's now your turn.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Herjan.
Yes, if you have, at the end the questions, or can people now ask them?
Well, if you want to ask him, bueno, si queréis preguntarle, hacer alguna pregunta ya podéis empezar, si no pasamos a la presentación de Vaniek. ¿Alguien en el público? ¿No? Bueno, pasaremos ahora con Vaniek Colenbrander.
Let's move on.
You want
Yes.
Shall we change places?
No, I'm fine. I should be.
Pues, bueno, Vaniek es diseñador industrial, fundador también de la empresa Van.Eko y creadores de la primera scooter eléctrica con un cuadro hecho a partir de fibra de cáñamo. Ahora nos presentará pues, su empresa, su proyecto y el scooter que tenemos expuesto tanto en los museos de Ámsterdam como el de Barcelona, y podéis pasar a visitarlo cuando queráis.
So, hello, my name is Vaniek Colenbrander. Sorry about that. I'm the founder of Van.Eko. We make, I make electric scooters which are made from bio-based materials. This means that we make the body and the frame from a hemp material. So we use the hemp fibers in combination with a resin to create a monocoque structure, which is the supportive frame of the scooter. So in comparison to what Gert-Jan just said about the BMW and Mercedes cars, they use interior panels which are not loaded structurally to use these materials, and we instead use this material in a composite application, which is a world first, in that we actually load the vehicle on these materials. So there's no steel structure inside. The full frame is made from hemp and polyester resins. The first question that arises is, why would you want to do that? Why replace steel or plastic with a bio-based material? And the reason is as follows. To the left you see CO2 on the top left. This is CO2 which is in the atmosphere. It gets converted by biomass and bioorganics into usually fossil resources. This takes around 1 million to 2 million years. And then the chemical industry makes polymers, chemicals and fuels from these fossil fuels. This CO2 cycle is then returned to the atmosphere in 1 or 10 years depending on the application. If it is, for example, oil or fuel, you can imagine that getting some oil out of the ground, maybe a year later we burn it as gasoline in our cars. For plastics, maybe 10 to 15 years later, it's either incinerated or burnt or recycled. But as it stands, just 10 to 20% of all the plastics in the world are currently recycled. A lot of them, as we know, end up in the oceans as well. So where the bioproducts industry kicks in is at the stage where the CO2 is still encapsulated as a biomass or bioorganic. We can regenerate it into a polymer, chemical or fuel, and then recycle it to a CO2 in the atmosphere in a year, depending on if it is fuel or in a plastic, to 10 years or so. This means it is a carbon positive cycle instead of a carbon negative cycle. Complicated story. The bottom line is hemp is renewable and a resource powered by the sun. The sun is our only regenerative and sustainable power source, and that's the reason why we want to use materials powered by the sun in our fuels, but also in our materials. Hemp additionally works as a carbon sink, so it encapsulates CO2 from the atmosphere in the plant itself and in the products you use from that. So you take CO2 out of the atmosphere. Hemp is one of the best at doing this, so trees do this as well, but they're relatively slow. And hemp has a fast growth rate, encapsulating CO2 very quickly. And in the application of the scooter, it's important that hemp fibers are one of the strongest, if not the strongest, fiber available from nature in relatively good quantities and at relatively low cost. So with that in mind, we started looking at what to do with an electric scooter and how do you apply these materials. The first instance was to make a frame of steel and then use bioplastics as covering parts. But we came into contact with MPSP, a partner company of ours, and they made composites from hemp fiber. And these are structurally very strong materials. So in that process, we started a research and development plan back in 2008 was the first time I started on this project. Throughout those years, we've done several material tests. As you can see in the left, these are material testing samples that we put under load to see when they will break, how strong they are. Those data points we then put into a computer model that is simulating the scooter and what type of loads are put onto the scooter during racing or during driving. Not during, well, also during racing, but so one of the requirements was that the scooter frame has to withstand a frontal impact of 10 kilometers an hour with someone driving on it. And these images in blue and green and red, you can see where the forces are applied onto the frame and how these are converged to the rest of the materials. So these are all parts of the process that we've been going through the last years. Then on the bottom you see a part of the production process. To the left you see the mold already, how do you say, filled with, well, that's, whoops. On the left you see the mold already filled with fiber mats. Then in the middle, on the bottom middle, you can see that we have already applied a vacuum bag over the mold, so that we vacuum pressed. And then to the right, you see the two molds in our workshop where they are infused by the bio-based resin. The result is a frame that we then make into a scooter. So the bottom and top halves are glued together, and then we build this scooter. Core points of the B is that we want to build something that is electric. Again, we want to be able to power our vehicles by a renewable source, and the sun is the best at that. That's why electric vehicles are so popular now, because it gives the opportunity to be fueled by the sun. In doing that, you want to give this product a compelling design, which I think we were successful in. Added to that, you need quality and reliability. So I started this as a product engineer focusing on electric scooters. So the driving aspects, the road handling were also aspects that we've put a lot of attention into during the development. And finally, we want to have zero compromises on the sustainability level. So we want to be as eco-friendly as possible, both in our production phase as in the end-of-life phase. And also in the usage phase in which we make materials that are electric. So the advantages for us is that building a monocoque in comparison to a conventional scooter in red to your left, we don't need a steel frame, which itself is already composed often of 50 to 100 parts depending on the frame, and we don't need a big tooling investment in the injection molds because we use composite molds, which are more cost effective. Additionally, we have a low part count because we don't need all the separate panels and we don't need a steel frame. It's all one unit onto which we attach brakes, wheels, motors, batteries and such. It's super robust and strong. I'll show you that in a second. The lifetime of the scooter and the frame is very long, so you have to think of 10 to 20 years in the open, under UV lighting, in rain, in wind, winter and summer. The frame will not degrade, there's no rust. And it's relatively lightweight versus the stiffness, and the stiffness has an advantage in handling. So that's why we're really happy that we can apply these materials. So we've come a long way since then. Last year we launched the first 10 scooters to the market, been through the whole type approval phase. The scooters are now EU type approved, so you can drive them here in Barcelona as well. The Hemp Museum has one, which is great, and there are 9 others driving around in the Netherlands at the moment. So that's really cool, and you can order the scooters now as well if you like on our website. But this process is a process of winning, but it's also a process of failing. So this is a small compilation of stuff we've experienced in the past. I'll start right to the bottom. This was one of the first prototypes we built. To make the shape, we have an insert in the mold. Complicated story. What you see in the bottom is the bottom half of the frame, which would not release the insert. So it ended up in breaking the frame to get it loose. Then to the top left, you see an example of the requirement of frontal impact at 10 kilometers an hour. The lady sitting on the chair, she wanted to have a test drive, and the police car was actually parked right there. Yeah, she crashed into the police car. It wasn't a good sight. She hurt herself. But the good part was that we tested our 10 kilometer per hour impact in real life. The scooter was still drivable. The frame was completely undamaged, and we're still driving on it today. So that was a good result. To the bottom left, you see one of the test engineers from the RDW during the type approval, doing the braking tests. This was a relatively tough test. The scooter there is loaded with 150 kilos of lead on the saddle, and then the guy sits on as well to check the brakes. We passed that, which was a good thing. And to the top right, you get the electromagnetic compatibility. Not a lot of people realize this, but your mobile phone and your car, they all emit radio waves. And these all have to make sure that they don't interfere with each other, so that when a car accelerates next to you, the scooter doesn't accelerate as well. This whole testing procedure was relatively tough, but we passed this in 2016, and that's why we're currently driving around. And well, that's about it from me. And yeah, if there's any questions, then you guys are free to ask them, I guess.
Sí, mira, por ahí tenemos una pregunta. O sea, un segundo, te acercan un micro.
Hello. I'm an aircraft mechanic. Would you be open to doing other monocoque structures with the technology and knowledge that you've developed in making this composite material?
It's one of the things that, because I mean, I started off as a design engineer, so making scooters is one thing, but having impact on a larger industry is one of the drivers behind this whole project. So the way I see it, windmills, the electric windmills, but also airplanes, but larger industry products can be built based on these materials. And yes, it's something that last week I was talking about with a company that's making an aircraft which powers, which makes energy or electric energy, similar to, but it's an aircraft on a linch. We can talk about that later. But yes, it's something that surely I'm interested in talking about and investigating.
Mira, por ahí al fondo.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
On the pricing? Yeah. It's currently on the market for 6,900 euros, so 6,900 euros. The reactions are, wow, that's high. Other reactions are, wow, that's not a lot. It all depends on which point of view you want to take. If you look at current gas-powered scooters, which are built in the millions, yeah, they're available for around 1,000 to 2,000 euros on the market. If you look at other electric scooters with comparable technology, you're looking at a price point of around 5 to 5,500 euros, comparable. In our case, we're at 6,900. It's manually made. We're low quantity. They're relatively exclusive. We want to make it a special product at this stage, and later develop better production methodologies to decrease the cost a little bit. But it's also a question of market pull. So if there's a lot of demand, then we can probably lower our prices a little bit. But at this moment, one of the core drivers is not just the monocoque, which is costly because of the fact that it's made from bio-based materials, but more so the battery, the charger, the motor, having those components being reliable and providing a sense of driving that you want here in Europe is something else than a lot of electric scooters that are currently on the market. So it's a combined price setting that we have now. But 6,900 euros and you can have one in 6 months.
¿Alguien más tiene alguna duda? Si no, me gustaría preguntaros, Gentian, bueno, hemos hablado de productos que se pueden hacer a partir de la fibra del cáñamo, vosotros que sois una empresa, HempFlax, dedicada, ¿no?, con una filosofía de sostenibilidad, de un futuro, pues bueno, el lema de la empresa lo dice, ¿no?, Solutions from Nature. ¿Cómo veis el futuro de este tipo de industrias sostenibles? ¿Creéis que va a haber un aumento del consumo, que cada vez se van a producir más materiales o que más otras industrias van a utilizar más este tipo de fibra para construir sus productos? Y sobre todo, ¿creéis que como consumidores estamos preparados? ¿La sociedad está preparada para lo que comentaba Vaniek? El precio depende, ¿no?, de lo que valores más. ¿Creéis que estamos preparados como sociedad para este tipo de productos?
Yeah, thank you for this question. That's a really good question, I think. From HempFlax, we are convinced that we are on the point of a breakthrough, that people want to do something with circularity and durability. And when I look into myself, I sold a lot of insulation material made out of oil, and on one day I was looking to myself and thought, am I really going through with this and tell everybody how good it is and how friendly for the environment it is? Well, it isn't. And I was from the passion for the natural fiber, for the hemp, I was going to HempFlax, and everybody there has the same idea about it, and also the philosophy. And we are convinced that if we, as industry, make it cheap to buy, so everybody can buy our products, that everybody will buy the products. When you are a lot more expensive than the normal products, it's difficult. So that's why we have to scale up. We are doing that as HempFlax. We are with our factory in Romania, and we are going to grow, and also in the Netherlands we are going to grow. So everything should be reachable for the consumer. It's made a little different, but you just told me
it's a different point of view, but the end story is which story are you trying to sell? And the products we buy, a lot of people think that it is something that you buy because well, a lot of times it is. You just see it in a shop, and this is what you're saying. If you see it in the shop and it's achievable, then you will buy it. A lot of other products are products that are bought because they are a story. I had this discussion the other day with my girlfriend about granola. I'm not sure if it's something that is of any essence here in Barcelona, but in the Netherlands, granola is the same as kruisli. So you know muesli, which is something that you eat at your breakfast, and then suddenly 2 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, granola started ending up in the shops, and these were priced at €6, came from the USA, and everyone was like, "Ooh, granola! It's the next food hype that you can have for your breakfast." And the end line is that granola is just the same as kruisli that we always had, always. It's just a different story that's being told. So that's a part of the issue. People are willing to spend more on things that they believe are really good or that are really good. And I think that battle is fought on two fronts. And yes, people are ready, and the industry is too. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, and if I may take another example, when you go to construction and when people use glass wool for insulation material, you have to put on special clothes, and because of the itch and it goes in your skin and in your lungs and everything. For a few weeks ago, I was giving a presentation for a lot of constructors, and I showed my insulation material made of hemp, and people were touching it, and what's the difference with glass wool? And I was just saying, what do you think the difference is? And you can just touch it, and if you want, you can roll in it. It does you no harm, and it brings you comfort at the end of the road. So, and all we have to do is to produce a lot, so it's the same pricing as the other material, so people can just take it and buy it.
Bueno, hablando de la scooter que tenemos expuesta, que forma parte de la colección. ¿Que no se me oye? Bueno, es igual. En la revista, en el número del mes de marzo de Cannabis Magazine, tenemos una entrevista a Vaniek, donde habla precisamente de este producto. Creo que es el resultado del proyecto de final de carrera, o empezó todo ahí. ¿Nos podías hablar un poquito de cómo, no sé, cómo llegaste a la conclusión de que podías utilizar eso, una planta para construir un vehículo?
Yeah, well, that was for me. I simply, when I was finishing my graduation project, the assignment was to look at what are or electric scooters in general, and how can we use any form of bioplastics. And the first, how do you say, examples I had were bioplastics that are based on starch and polylactic acids. And these are plastics that can be used in injection molding techniques and are used now as well in 3D printing and such. They're not so much structural materials. They could be applied with a steel frame, but as covering materials. And then in that research phase, when I was looking for what type of bioplastics are available on the market, I encountered MPSB, who at the time were working together with HempFlax, building composite materials, and they said, you can build the whole scooter, as in, you know, leave the frame away, make the whole thing out of one piece. And I was a little skeptical at that moment, because, yeah, I'd only had some test sample materials from them. And then they explained, no, but we built a catamaran, so a sailing boat, from this material in 2002. And that for me was like, okay, so wait, if you can make a catamaran and it's still sailing today from these materials, then certainly there must be some leeway. And so in the design process, I chose for this composite application, made a design, ended up with a grant from the Dutch government to build a prototype. This prototype, the first prototype, was realized in 2009, and it worked. As in, it drove around and it worked. But we still didn't do the 10 kilometer per hour against the wall test until one of my colleagues. We just finished a presentation with the scooter for the people giving us the grant, and he decided to really test the scooter and drove off of a, how do you say that, a pavement step. A pavement step, yeah. It was 30 centimeters high, it was a high pavement step, and we'd never really tested it. And he just drove off and hoped for the best. And in the end, that's how you test stuff. It's driving off and hoping for the best, and it worked. And from that moment, we started testing that product more and more, and it became clear that it was much stronger than we would want to hope, and much stronger than the scooters we were building at the time. So yeah, it was a good, interesting, how do you say, experience.
Y ahora se me plantea una duda. Siendo un material tan duradero, ¿creéis que a la industria le interesa, a según qué marcas, que un scooter dure tantísimo tiempo? Bueno, en tu caso, por ejemplo, ¿no? Como constructor, o HempFlax, ¿no? Quizás os pueda afectar en también vuestro comercio.
Again, it's the story you want to be selling. right? I mean, if you buy a Vespa, then you know, or at least the story that is being told to you is you're buying something that is good, and you're buying something that will last and be durable. And the history behind it proves that. So in our case, we're still very much at the beginning, and it's tough to say that we're better because there's no history. But in the end, the popular brands, the popular market, or the popular products that keep alive are the ones that that are durable. And the funny thing is that in the past I've used the iPhone as a comparative product to how a new technology is suddenly adopted while everything was already in place. The PDAs were already there in 2001. They were already attached to internet. It just, they didn't work, and they weren't combined with an electric phone, or with a telephone, I mean, and they weren't combined with GPS. And the only thing Apple did with the iPhone is say, fuck 200 euros for something that is in your pocket and should work or should not work. We're going to make it $700 and make it work. And who's going to buy it? Everyone. Okay, so they made it work. Now, 10 years later, you see that the development part is kind of lagging, and people are unhappy with the quality behind an iPhone and start realizing there are other products on the market that are maybe better. And so there's this switch going on there, and it can be a risk for Apple or iPhone in general that they haven't been able to keep up that technological advantage that you have an iPhone and it'll be good in 6 years too. So that's a challenge that even that type of brands, I think, have to fight to keep in mind that you're a durable, good product, and people will want you for it, I think.
And I agree. Mira, aquí tenemos una pregunta.
Thank you. How do you charge it? Because you were saying that it's powered by the sun, but most of the energy is not powered by the sun. So it's something that you charge at home, and what is?
You can charge it by the sun if you have sun power yourself, right? So if you buy green energy or if you have solar panels, then you can charge it by that. But in real life, you just plug it into the wall. So depending on who you pay for your energy, that ends up in what happens. And if you look at the long goal, if we want to be here in 500 years' time, there will hardly be any oil. How do we power everything we do? Nobody really knows. The only thing we do know is that the only source of energy that is there is the sun. And we're going to have to be using that in some way. It can be wind energy. In the end, wind energy is solar energy. Burning wood is solar energy. Solar power on panels is solar energy. It's all there. The only other possible alternative could be nuclear energy, but there's still a lot of doubts about that. And okay, in France they're trying to experiment with nuclear fission, which is another form of nuclear energy, but then clean, and it creates a small sun on Earth. If we get that done, then we're home free. But the energy that will be coming from it is electric. So you have no, putting gas into a motor is something of the past. It's going to be something of the past. Maybe not today, maybe not in 50 years, but in 200 or 300 years, we're sure of that.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? No sé cómo vamos de tiempo. ¿10 minutos? ¿15? ¿Sí?
Yeah, a question for her hand about HempFlax, and just asking about all the different things that you are doing. Just a question, what about the paper industry? Are you interested, or do you have any line developing that technology? And another question, what about Spain and the future of the agriculture here? Romania is a good country, but I think we are a southern country. We have a really good opportunities and future. So is HempFlax interested in coming here and try to have a deal with the agricultures?
Yeah, thank you for both questions. Starting with the last one, and we went to Romania. We had different reasons to go to Romania. And we are, of course, in the Netherlands, and everybody thought that we went to Romania because the land is cheaper than in the Netherlands. And of course, that's an issue. But last year, we had a lot of rain in the Netherlands. And we started with the harvest, and when we had 500 acres done, it started raining. And after 2 months, it was still raining. So our crop was on the field, and that's not a good thing when a crop is lying for 2 months on the field. In Romania, the sun was shining, so there we could harvest our entire crop. So we have got now, we are spreading the risk. Of course, we are also interested in going to Spain. We are convinced that when you have a factory and the area you deliver your products that you make in that factory should be 500 kilometers, no more. So, and when you have a factory from HempFlax, then 500 kilometers, and then you have another factory here, also 500 kilometers, and a factory here, also 500 kilometers. The only problem is that you need around $10 million of euros to start a factory with the land. Romania, it has cost Ben Dronkers $10 million to start the machines, to buy the land, to do the cultivation. And at this moment, I can tell you, we don't have it. So if anybody in Spain wants to invest, we are willing to do that together and share our technology with it. But we do not have the money to do that right now. The first question. The paper. Yeah, when we started, the first reason Ben started, the first market he wanted to do was the paper industry. So we delivered a lot in the paper industry. The only thing in the paper industry is that you deliver a lot and you earn just a little bit of money for it. So yes, we can deliver paper quality fiber. That's no problem. But in the auto industry and in the other lines we do, we just earn more money. So that's why we are mostly focused on that. Is that yeah? Thank you.
Money.
Yeah, it's all about the money, always. Yeah.
¿Sí? ¿Alguna pregunta? ¿No?
Hello, I want to ask, I don't know if you are allowed to say that, but how high are your margins at the moment at HempFlax with the cultivation? Because normally agriculture with subsidies bread business basically. Our margins were mostly very low. When you see last year was the first year we indeed earned a little bit of money. The other 25 years, Mr. Dronkers just spent money on our beautiful factory. So, and that, yeah, well, we can be honest. The most profit we make on this moment, it's in the food industry for the food supplements we sell. But I don't know exactly the margin on that. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I have a question for HempFlax as well. Can you kind of summarize the advantage of hemp versus other fibers? And then in particular, I would be curious to understand, if you look at growing hemp will also require resources like land and water and all of that, how that compares to other fibers as well.
Yeah, of course, as HempFlax, we are really proud of our plants and how we do it, and we can say that hemp is the most. How do I say it in a nice way? Hemp is a really easy plant to grow. You need 7 times less water than you need with cotton. And so when the CO2 reduction hemp does, it's almost 8 times higher than a forest. And we thought on one
points, how can we convince the world that hemp is a durable solution for fibers? So what we have done is that we have got now the ISCC Plus certificate on our crop, on the fiber, and with that certificate we hoe zeg je dat je het waarmaakt, dat je het we can show the world that we do not use any pesticides, not use any insecticides, only fertilize the earth, grow our material, harvest it, and we can show to the world how many CO2 is collected with hemp, and we've got, I believe, the strongest and best fiber you can imagine. Yeah? If anybody else has a better plant, please show us. Maybe we can start with that as well. You need, when you, flax is also a crop that is really used a lot, but our hemp is growing 4 meters in 100 days. Well, flax, it's only now maybe 80 centimeters high. So you got a lot more fiber from 1 acre than with which other plant you can imagine. So. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I'm not a farmer, but I agree. Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell us how much a farmer can earn from hectare from such cultivation?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us how much can a farmer earn from such cultivation from hectare?
Yeah, when you go, we pay our farmers, then we do contract tailed, we call it in the Dutch, and we pay our farmers for every ton of harvest they deliver to us, and in total they earn about 1,000 euros per acre in the Netherlands. And when you compare that with other crops, it's low, but in the Netherlands you can, the government pays you when you use a crop on the field, where you do not, you use it as a fertilizer. So the farmers, they tell the government that our hemp is a fertilizer, it is for the ground, and it gets healthier. And when you, this year you do hemp, next year you do potatoes, your harvest in potato is higher because you had hemp first. So, and the government gives money for that. I don't know exactly how much that is, but it's additional on the 1,000 euros per acre.
And yeah, talking about the benefits and taking into account the economy of that crop, I think most of us, we know that you said that you are also producing CBD, and we already know how much costs 1 kilo of CBD and all that part. So it's also, I think, a huge benefit that HempFlax also use that part, that I am totally agree, and I think it's amazing. So is it true that is a huge part of that benefit or not, or how it goes?
Well, when you see the CBD production, it's a really strange thing, because we started in the Netherlands with that, and we invested $1 million in harvesting machines and everything like that. And then we were just doing it for a year, and then the government said, hey, it's illegal. So that was really an issue. So that's why we were happy we had our factory in Romania, and we can only harvest in Romania, and that's a real pity, because if we also harvest in the Netherlands, we can produce more and make it cheaper for the consumers. And that's our goal that we have. And we hope in 1 or 2 years that the Dutch government opens its eyes and starts legalizing it again. And so we can harvest in the Netherlands as well. Thank you.
¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta más para hacer a nuestros invitados? Bueno, pues aprovecho para volver a agradeceros vuestra asistencia a esta conferencia sobre el cáñamo industrial. Podéis aprender más sobre él o solventar dudas en los museos de Ámsterdam y Barcelona. Ya que estamos en Barcelona, os invito a visitar, por ejemplo, este fin de semana el Marihuana Hemp Museum en la calle Ampla, en el barrio gótico. Y también aprovecho también para anunciaros que el 20 de abril inauguraremos una exposición temporal sobre el cáñamo industrial, Cáñamo, Regreso al futuro, donde podéis conocer más sobre la labor de HempFlax, la historia del cáñamo industrial, las innovaciones y también sobre el scooter eléctrico con carrocería de cáñamo de Vaniek. Muchas gracias y a disfrutar de la feria.
May I do one more thing? I want to really say that I'm impressed about the museum. I was never there, and if anybody goes into the center of Barcelona, please visit the museum. It's beautiful, really beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.